I would now like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee to order. If you could all please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded on YouTube. So getting into the business of the evening, I'd like to start with approval of the meeting minutes. So I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 19th, 2024 as written. So moved. Motion by Heather. Second by Danielle. Any questions or comments about those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. Moving on to bills and payroll, I would recommend a motion to accept the bills and payroll warrants as presented. Motion by Danielle. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments about those bills and payroll? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, abstained. And I say yes, so that is unanimous. Now moving on to our report from our student representative.
So winter sports are going well. I know boys and girls basketball has had a couple games. The boys are playing tonight, girls are playing tomorrow. Track had a meet. I think today, yeah, today they have a meet, and then that's really it for sports. I know for clubs, the Little Mermaid has started rehearsals on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. People can buy tickets in March, and the dates for the play are the 4th, 5th, and the 6th of April. And then we have our club still going well. High school. Some events that have been scheduled are the Winter Wonderland dance to help keep kids involved during the slow winter season, because we don't have a lot during the winter and stuff, and during the fall we have everything, and the spring we have like all the dances and stuff. So they said they're gonna put something in the winter. And then on Friday next week there's an MIA student ambassador field trip, and STAR testing is next Friday.
Yes.
For the middle school, all winter sports have started, and all the clubs have continued. And intramurals have not changed to mat ball and crazy soccer. This week is week 2 of the anti-bullying month, where the first week they did an anti-bullying pledge, and then this week they wrote thank you notes, and then for each task they complete, they get a charm for participating in each activity. And that's all I have for this month.
So what's going on? Sounds like STAR testing is the highlight though.
Oh, yes.
That's what I picked up on, all right. So thank you so much for sharing all of these. I don't see anyone from the public. That said, we do have our NDA representative here. How are things going coming back from the holidays?
Pretty good, actually not bad. And I meet with Amanda before these meetings too, so she got to say a lot of things that I would have said if. Thank you, Amanda. And she's also my amazing intern. But across the board in all schools right now, the window is open for STAR testing, so at all levels in the next 2 weeks, teachers will be giving their STAR math and STAR reading tests, which is always exciting to see those results, just to see the growth that we're going to see at that point. And also in the next couple of weeks, it's we're doing the middle of the year FIMAP screenings, which are the social emotional screenings. So it's always nice to get that in and to see how those results come out, and it's nice to look at your students just to see where they've come from the beginning of the year to now, and hopefully you're seeing progress. And that's it. Now we have a long weekend coming up. Grades close next week, term 2. I think tomorrow's day 90. Wow, I think.
Yes.
Or tomorrow or Monday. I can't remember if the snow day puts the Monday, but I was just doing the figuring because I'm thinking of grade schools and I think tomorrow's day 90, so it's gone fast, quick half of a year.
Yeah, wow, I lost count, so.
Yeah.
So
Good days.
Yeah, no, great, lots happening and
A lot of sickness though, a lot of sickness throughout, teachers, students. Trying to sanitize the
tough year.
yeah. But that's about it.
Great, thank you so much. All right, anything on FY 25 to report on? Noted. And FY 26, I did, as a reminder, we do have our various budget meetings coming up. There'll be an initial, school committee review of the budget presentation on January 30th. We're hoping to have our multi-board meeting on February 6th. I do want to note that so far, we have not actually gotten confirmation from any full boards from any towns. We have heard from Templeton of a couple individual folks who are interested in attending, so it may be less of a multi-board meeting and more of a school committee meeting with a couple folks from various towns able to attend. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to get confirmation from any full committees from any town. So that'll be a bit unusual, though we're still trying to stay in touch and get that done, but neither town has posted the meeting, so we're getting close, so not sure if we're gonna be able to make that happen as we have in the past. Though we're certainly excited to welcome those folks from the town who are able to make it that evening. And then that follows our preliminary budget hearing, more official hearing on March 6th, and our full budget hearing on March 20th. All right, Anne Marie, back to you for our business manager's report.
There's really nothing to report where, I mean, that general fund, we're just watching it really closely. Unfortunately, I'm saying no to a lot of people, doing what I can, but I watch the revenue side too, and that's looking a little bit down on the Medicare side. Won't know that final tally until the end of the year, unfortunately, so if that comes up short, I'm gonna make sure this side covers it.
Noted. Okay, all right, thanks for,
Yep, auditors are me.
okay, yeah, well, thanks so much for keeping such a close eye on all of that. I know it's been a tricky year between substitutes and, needing some additional staff to cover essential positions and
Contracted services.
contracted services, yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, that's what's pushing us over.
Yeah. Yeah, the contract service, yeah.
I know it's always a tricky year, so
That's true.
I don't think we've ever said,
Last
this is
year-
good.
Last year, I feel like we did pretty good through the year,
Pretty
but,
good last year.
but yeah, the years prior to that, I know things were tight.
This whole year's
school
actually weren't bad.
Yeah, the sensor funds came in handy. Alright, we do still have our school committee vacancy for the town of Templeton, so certainly, welcome any applicants, for that position. And, I know I'm continuing to reach out to folks and try to inspire some interest. But if you know anyone, please do pass that along, and should anyone have questions about what it means to be a school committee member, we're also be to connect you with someone to talk to. Okay, Ms. Superchi, I'm passing it over to you for curriculum and instruction.
Sounds great. I have a very brief update today, which is that we had a half-day professional development for all staff last Friday. We continue to focus as a system on universal design for learning and how to design and build lessons and activities to remove barriers, considering we have a wide range of learners in front of us as teachers and staff. And so our elementary school and our middle school both shifted their focus within UDL to focusing on how to design activities and lessons for multiple means of representation. So focusing on student perspectives and varying perspective taking in classrooms, how to use language and symbols in classrooms to help solidify meaning, and focusing on really building deep level understanding on content or context within lessons as well. Our elementary school kicked off with a review, doing a nice fun Jeopardy game that got a lot of very positive feedback. Before really diving into practices and implementation in classrooms. At the middle school level, they had the same focus area. And our assistant principal had stepped up to run the professional development for this round and did a phenomenal job. Feedback was incredibly positive. And our high school has slightly different focus. They focused on student engagement and student ownership of learning in the classrooms and how to design lessons to support more urgency around student agency and getting students more invested in their learning, which connects to some work they were doing like last year and early this year around really less teacher talk, more student talk in the classroom, and how do we engage students as really driving the shift in their own learning in the classrooms of the high school. So we are continuing to get positive feedback on that. And we had some additional smaller sessions for our mental health staff, so sorry. For our mental health related staff and our related service providers, like our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, our speech pathologists. They had participated in some online webinars more specific to their fields of study, and then our special education staff continue to focus with our special director, school service director, excuse me, on the rollout of the new IEP, which is kind of an ongoing thread for them this year, as well as some work around some of the compliance the special education department is working on. And along those lines, we've gotten some really positive feedback from DESE around the work of the special education department to tighten up some areas around compliance for IEP writing and things like that. So we're in a very good place there. And if you haven't heard, we're starting up our STAR testing with them.
We did hear that. Any questions or comments? All right, so we don't have any surplus items tonight, but we do have the senior out of state field trip. Who would like to speak to that particular field trip?
I guess I will. So the seniors have decided to go to NYC for their class trip. And again, a lot of these bids are hard to get. Some of these things are really, people are just not as responsive as they used to be. So, but in any event, again, it's pretty well laid out. I finally heard from Capital Tours, you know, the per person cost for is, you know, was $1,019. They got a free there. Well, it's a great trip. Quite frankly, if you look at, if you've had a chance to check out the itinerary. So it's a 3-day, total 3 days. They're right back on Sunday. They leave on a Friday. And they go to all the great, you know, great places of NYC. So we're waiting to sign up until they didn't sign the contract yet until we get it approved, but I believe all of the information is there, just double checking.
And quick stop at Six Flags on the way.
Yeah, well, you gotta do that. I mean, that's just, it's standard.
I like that they conveniently squeezed that in on the drive home.
And that hits the PE.
Oh, excellent. All
Yeah,
right.
so just so
Very
you,
good.
and of course,
I
money
mean, I can
management,
vouch for that.
money
That's a little
management and PE are, which is.
So this is happening in that time period from when they finish their last day of school and before graduation? Or-
They graduate the 30th of May,
Okay,
and this is the weekend, well, basically prior.
They also received Broadway tickets to see Wicked while they're there as well.
Broadway tickets to see Wicked, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Ooh. Go.
I think we could pass the seniors.
I'm spending time in my life, not anymore. Yeah.
The other end.
Yeah. Talking about that coming. All right, any questions about the trip or the details here?
I actually do have one question. The trip is there. I actually probably don't remember it. The subs, the nurse, that comes out of the general fund, right? Not out of the trip?
No, right, exactly. So subs won't be needed because so many seniors will be.
Oh, I thought it said, on our thing, it said that they need, I would assume.
I'm sure that, I can't imagine, I'm just trying to think of, we didn't use almost any subs last year to cover.
Okay.
Unless how many teachers are going, so that's right, yeah.
That's what I have.
Yeah, so you're right, so my fault, yes, it'll come out of the general,
I assumed, I just wasn't sure.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that'd be too,
Yeah,
it's already expensive enough, but, actually 1,000, I actually was actually pretty surprised with the price, it actually is a pretty good price point for all the 30.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the senior out-of-state field trip as presented. Motion by Hank,
second.
second by Jeff. Any questions or comments? Yeah. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. So we have the MSBA schematic design next on the agenda here. I know we were hoping to have some, we put this in hopeful that we would have what we needed to have a discussion and possibly vote tonight,
Right.
but I'm guessing we're not quite there yet.
So, long story short, the MSBA has very specific language. Boilerplate language to do pretty much everything. We have been invited into the schematic phase of the program, which is going to obviously give us an actual cost for what it'll be for the roof. Well, the language that they provide is based for towns to make the assurance that those monies will be available to do the schematic design. Well, we're not a town, we're regional, and so going back and forth, and we don't really know the actual price of the schematic design. If you remember, they give you all the roofing jobs that they've done, for on a year, you have to look at it and go, well, this is about an average. So we looked at every roof job with 100,000 square foot or more, and we took all of those and go 70,000, that's a safe bet. So we contacted our attorney because they have to approve of the language. So it's not like we can just get lucky, we've got to actually send them the language that we're gonna use.
MSBA.
The MSBA, pardon me, thank you, they'll send it back. And so by the time we got this all figured out through our attorneys, the turnaround was just gonna be too quick. He was hopeful to get it in time so that I could send it to the MSBA. It didn't happen, so we'll have to revisit it the 30th of January. Some of the paperwork is due by then, but this vote isn't due until March 1st.
Okay,
So we have to.
so we've got some time, all right, good. All right, so moving into policy. So the first item we have here is, if you recall from our last meeting, we had a basic update to an existing policy, was listed with subcommittees, and since the list of subcommittees has updated, we just needed to make an update to the policy. And so I would entertain a motion to accept the following for second reading as presented. It is BDE subcommittees of the school committee.
So,
Motion by Danielle. Second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. Okay, this next one is a little bit different. So we reviewed this policy in the district operations meeting. And essentially, as a reminder, MCAS, there was a vote on MCAS, and as a result of that vote, MCAS is no longer a competency determination for graduation. Starting for the class of,
Well, it's not quite that clear.
I know.
Technically, it's any student who did not get certified for competency determination by DESE as of December 5th, 2024.
Yes.
So
you.
it's hard to say class of, because there are some students who will have met.
So anyone who has
competency
taken and
determination
received the competency determination by
December 5th of
December 5th
2024.
of 2024 qualifies to use the MCAS as that competency determination. Anybody who did not, an alternative method of competency determination had to be identified and proposed. And so, you'll notice that what the subcommittee recommended was to bypass the first reading and go to second reading. The reason for that is because our staff, our guidance team really needs to start having discussions with seniors now about, for those students who did not receive that MCAS result that gave them the competency determination by the end of the year. They need to be digging into this alternate method of competency determination. And so it's all kind of smooshed together in a short turnaround time. What I do want to caveat is that what we've learned from the super chief and our discussions is that there is a lot of conversation happening about this across all districts across Massachusetts. And there are frequent updates coming in from DESE, et cetera. And so it's entirely possible that we could put this together and additional changes might be recommended, but we did want to give a foundational way for those conversations to begin happening. Because it's important for us to give our guidance team and our students enough time to make sure that they're able to make strides towards those graduation requirements. How did I do?
You did great.
Thank you.
Can I
What would you
summarize
add?
a little bit?
Yes, please.
So previously, there are really two buckets here, right? There's graduation requirements, which has always been under the guise of the school district. And then there's competency determination, which previously was determined by the state, the Department of Education, and previously was based on passing the 10th grade MCAS. So with the changes in the regulations and the statute, the competency determination piece is no longer based on passing 10th grade MCAS and is no longer certified by DESE by the state. Now, districts will create processes for students meeting that competency determination, and districts will then certify competency determination. So it's no longer at the state level. And so the way the new statutes were written were basically, it's remaining as a 10th grade requirement, and it's focusing now on course completion in previously MCAS tested subjects for 10th grade. So what we've proposed, and I think most districts are moving towards, is a policy that outlines that we will certify competency determination based on completion of English 1 and 2, Algebra 1, and Geometry and Biology, which are the 10th grade courses that were essentially, 9th and 10th grade courses that were essentially assessed by MCAS. What you'll see at the end of our draft policy is an alternative method for us to provide competency determination for students who may not be able to access a competency determination because of complex or significant disability. So this would be students who previously would have taken MCAS Alt to receive an MCAS score to get a certification of competency determination by the state. And so we as a district are recommending that we will use a portfolio to show competency in those same subject areas if students are not able to go through a traditional pathway to fully complete or satisfy those courses. And so that's where we're sitting currently with our policy. We as a district will then put procedures in place for what that portfolio process would look like, but that's procedure, that would be procedural based and not necessarily outlined in policy. So that would be our next steps.
Musical.
So I think that assumption for the competency, right?
Mhm.
That would be, the portfolio that they would have to take would be worked into their IEP as they come along, so they would know what the application would be when they come to the end of their academic career. Is that correct?
Yes, but law remains still as 10th grade, so the portfolio would be specific for through 10th grade curriculum as outlined algebra, through Algebra 1 and Geometry, English 1 and 2, and Biology. So that's where the quirkiness sits right now, is that it's still that 10th grade piece. So that's what we are currently recommending and it,
There was discussion about that quirkiness in our
Yes.
meeting as
Yeah.
well, and trying to understand why is it the tenth grade determines competency for graduation? Aren't there another 2 whole years? And I understand it relates to when the MCAS test was given, however.
which are represented under our district graduation requirements.
Yes.
Now it's the competency determination. And please, I want to make sure folks listening understand MCAS is not going away. Right, MCAS is still in place. It is still a requirement for students to take MCAS. It is still tied to quite a few other things. While it's not a graduation requirement, it is still utilized and used for scholarships like the John and Abigail Adams scholarships, seal of biliteracy, college applications. And so we, and where we still have, a participation rate and school data that comes to us through MCAS as well. So there is sometimes some misconception when people hear that MCAS is no longer a graduation requirement, that it has gone away, and that is not the case. MCAS is something we were planning for earlier today. Our administrators were on a meeting about, about student registration for MCAS just this morning. So I just want to make sure people hear that as they're listening.
Any other questions or comments from Molly, or any questions or comments about the recommendation from the subcommittee to suspend first reading? Because I do want to leave space for that if anyone has a question. Okay. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to suspend first reading and accept the following for second reading as presented. IKF graduation requirements. Motion by Hank. Second. Second by Chrissy. One last chance for any questions or comments. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous, so we can put that into policy. Okay. Now I will hand it over to you, Dr. C, for the superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Busy couple of weeks back. It's interesting how just a couple of times by day 90, we're halfway. These first 90 go very quickly. I found that the last 90, not so much. So we'll see how that all pans out. We are in the throes of figuring out the budget. Patiently waiting for January 22nd to happen, and that is when we are supposed to receive our cherry sheets, which will tell us chapter 70. And if we are still held harmless or if not, and all those things. So we are preparing for that. That's what we've been working a lot on. Other than that, the other part of it is working on all this, student enrollment comes up. And just a couple of very quick tidbits going back. My first fiscal year would be technically FY17, which was the 16-17 school year. And we had 1,191 residents and 206 school choice kids at that point in time. Now, it's, over the years gone like this, but to think about it, we were 85% of our kids that were enrolled were resident, 15% were school choice. When you fast forward to October 1, I'm just staying with October 1 numbers. We are at 1,329 residents. And as of today's report, 125 school choice students, which is roughly 91% resident and call it 9% school choice. Just looking at the numbers and just if you in being in awe of numbers, just watching how they can just change and why they change. I think that we've increased somewhere close to 200 some odd residents, give or take, right? And we have essentially cut almost that many, we have not replaced that many, almost that many, and we are still at the same number is unbelievable. So one of the things that I'll foreshadow, and I've already spoke about this, is that we are at the end of the road of reducing the number of school choice students. The meaning not replacing or trying to replace as many as we lose, if nothing else. The report today showed exactly what, we're proud of. We have 125 as when the report was done, school choice in, and I believe 80. Susan, we don't have the exact number, but it's in the 80s. So it's like the 5th straight year we have reduced the number of students who are school choicing out. That is awesome, and that is a direct causation to that is the principals, the administrators, the teachers, not us. Teachers, because people will keep their kids where they are happy, where they are safe. And so every year when we have less and less school choice out kids, that is just another, feather in the cap of folks who actually do the hard work. But to watch these numbers go the way they have gone, and for whatever reason, is absolutely, it's unbelievable, quite frankly, because I don't believe anyone around us have increased the number of residents by this amount, and we could certainly check on that. So foreshadowing before, we're gonna have to really keep an eye and actually work with our buildings and to keep our school choice numbers at a certain level, because we have a number of staff members who are still being 9. I was gonna say 9, but I wasn't sure, but we have 9 staff members who are being paid out of school choice. By the way, not by our hand, it's just how that's in order to save money or whatever it was over the years. So we need to absolutely keep that those numbers healthy. We need to keep that differential, which I like part a lot. We need to keep that at a healthy balance because we depend on it quite a bit. Short of that, in terms of where we're sitting today, or October, well, pardon me, in January 2nd, the numbers that I know that's in your packet. We have 1,467 students that are enrolled, which I think was +1, I think, -1 from year over year, from month, from last month. And so, again, we're driven by the number of kids that we have. We believe that we'll be out of held harmless, just given the numbers that we can glean from the SIMS reports that were done. And it'll be the 3rd time in our history that we've been out of held harmless, which means that we'll actually receive money from the state and not receive it. So a lot going on. And so, yeah, that's our mindset, and it has been for the last couple of weeks.
Questions for Dr. C? Great, we didn't have any items not reasonably anticipated, so I would open up the opportunity for any school committee comments.
That will be me.
No? Oh, yeah.
Yep, so as I step back into this familiar position, okay, once more, I simply want to say it's great to be back. I'm deeply grateful for the warm welcome and the opportunity to return. Thank you all for welcoming me back.
Of course, we are very excited to have you back at the table, Jeff. Thank you so much. All right. So subcommittee reports, finance and facilities, I had a great meeting, do a little bit of a different meeting in early January where we invite the administration team into the meeting to talk to us about their various needs. It doesn't mean that all those needs get fit into the budget, but it does allow us a chance to hear from them, hear what their vision is for their different areas of responsibility, whether that be for TES, NMS, or NHS, or to hear from, like our folks who are in charge of technology, et cetera. And so it's one of my favorite finance facility meetings to attend because it allows us to hear directly from folks. So really, I would say the overarching theme was around needs related to special education, especially our English language learners. So, we've seen quite an uptick in our English language learners, particularly for our district. And so they're, you know, being able to balance their needs, along with our special education needs and to do a better job of that next year, we are considering some different options, related to that. So we can expect to hear more about that during the budget presentation. Danielle or Hank, anything you would call out from that meeting?
Just, it was nice to see department heads come in,
Yes.
hear from them, so.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in a while, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, district operations.
Well, thankfully, we all just worked on, most of what our meeting was about, last policy. But we, I do want to update that we've got some great work has been done, primarily first draft of the school committee, remember handbook by the lovely, wonderful Jen sitting next to me, and I get the fun task of adding my comments to it, which is my homework for the weekend.
Excellent.
And we are also working on policy, a cell phone policy, because there's, you know, guidance in the handbook around cell phone use. But we do want to develop a policy level statement around cell phone use. So that effort was kicked off, as well as, you know, a review of some other policies. So there will be more coming through to this committee, in the next few meetings. Labor management, we have not had a meeting, nope,
Before negotiations.
oh, well, LMC and WEC, both, neither one of those have kicked off yet this year. So nothing to report there, but how about our CPAC update?
I don't believe I have anything to report. I got in touch with them. They had a meeting last Monday, but they don't do notes or things.
Okay,
So that's all I know.
all right, great. So let us know what progress you made there. We are still missing our liaison to PTO. So please reach out if anyone is interested in that, because I do want to make sure that gets back up and running. Absent that, I will send an official request of like, hey, we don't have an official liaison yet, but if you could send us or central office an update monthly, then we'd really like to make sure that your updates are getting showcased here. Reach out if you'd like to volunteer. Cool. Our liaison to Student Advisory Council is Sean, and he is visiting the Mouse, this week with his family, so we're looking forward to hearing from him next time. Otherwise, Danielle, anything happening, with legislative updates recently?
Right, every district's in the same situation, waiting on their predictions for chapter 70 funding, waiting to hear from the state about competency determination. There could be some changes to Title IX again as a result of some court findings in Kentucky, so all kinds of things that are sort of just in this
Percolating. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on all of those. There's no correspondence this evening, and our next meeting is January 30th. I do want to remind folks that we did move the time for that, so that folks are able to attend the basketball game that evening, and I want to say Warriors again, Wizards, thank you. The Wizards game later that evening, so we will be meeting at 5 o'clock. The main item for that agenda is a review of the budget presentation, so it will be light on other content, although if we do need to push something through, like for the MSBA, we will sneak that in, but otherwise, really the focus will be getting a chance to take a preliminary look at the budget presentation prior to the multi-board meeting. And we do not need executive session this evening, unless that's changed.
No need, ma'am.
Excellent, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Hank. A second by Chrissy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your time this evening.